But our next guest is Steve Cadigan. And I want to tell you a little story about how we came to be in touch with Steve. We've done quite a bit of work for some time with LinkedIn. In fact, the University of Sydney Business School does a significant amount of work talking about personal branding, about social connectivity. It's one of the things that we see as being one of the key identifiers of our students, is that they really do know how to connect socially, and they know therefore how to engage in important conversations in companies. And that's one of the things that organisations are telling us is really important. We give an enormous amount of training and skills, but being able to socially connect is perhaps one of the things that our graduates, we hope, are coming out knowing a little more about. So in our work with LinkedIn, we came across Steve. Steve was the VP for Talent at LinkedIn and did an enormous amount of work really leading LinkedIn and a lot of its thinking around moving into this whole area of disruption around recruitment. And we have a research group at the University of Sydney for the next 3 years focusing on exactly trying to learn a lot more about what is disrupting this recruitment practice and particularly the role of social media and how that's disrupting that process. So we are very, very excited to have Steve here with us. He is here to talk to us today, and we're delighted to welcome him all the way from San Francisco, and also for the work that he'll be doing with us in the next week. So please welcome Steve.
Thanks, Christine. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it okay that I don't use any slides? Is that okay? All right. Because I don't work for a company anymore, and the rule of my company, no PowerPoint. So hopefully that works for you. So as Christine mentioned, I'm here from Silicon Valley. You can tell, right? Don't tuck the shirt in. And I've just finished about the last 5 years of my life competing against some of the most prolifically successful companies on the planet. I grew LinkedIn in a time where we had no brand, and my next door neighbor was a company you might have heard of, Google. And then up the street's Facebook, and up the street's Twitter, and they had sexy brands. They were dropping far more cash than I was, and I had to build an organization in the 4 years I was with LinkedIn from 400 to 4,000. Okay, 800% growth in just under a 4-year period was unbelievable. But the great adventure for me went far beyond just the challenge of recruiting against incredibly successful organizations. It was the learning process of how do you win and succeed when you're in an industry that's changing so fast, but you're also the tip of the spear working for a company that's changing the recruiting industry. Here's one of the unbelievable ironies of working as a leader of talent for LinkedIn. I was competing against Google for the best software engineers on the planet. And by the way, the engine of Silicon Valley is software talent. Do you know whose product Google was using to recruit against me? Mine. Think about how much fun that was to get called by my head of sales, Steve, our first $1 million deal, can you join us and go visit Google? I was like, no. What do I want to close that deal for? They're hiring my talent away from me. But listen, the disruption you've heard is happening on many dimensions in the recruiting space. Very clearly, the first thing that you're seeing right now is the traditional search firm model has been turned on its head. Because the proprietary value of search firms was my database. I've got a certain group of people in my Rolodex that no one else knows about. LinkedIn has completely disrupted that. The newspaper industry has taken a massive hit because all the ads that used to be placed, and some organizations still think the eyeballs of the candidates they're interested in are reading newspapers. I happen to be someone, I love reading newspapers. I like to have that paper in my hand. But the marketing of for talent opportunities in newspapers completely disrupted. Then let's move into, if you're a candidate, how your world has dramatically changed and how many tools you have to figure out where you want to go to. Think about the fact that with sites like Glassdoor, how many people here are familiar with Glassdoor? Okay, fair number of you. Those of you that aren't, Glassdoor is a repository of feedback where current employees, people who interviewed at your company, can go and make comments about the quality of the experience of being in your organization, or the quality or low quality of their interview experience with you. So you've got a whole bunch of information there. You've got your whole network that you can tap in a second on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, on so many sites to be able to gather information for you to make a much stronger decision around what's the right place for me. My friends know me. They know what I care about. They know where I spend my time. Maybe they can help me figure out where I should go to work. Or even better, I know people at that organization because I can find through my LinkedIn graph who's working there that I used to work with. And they know what kind of organization makes me thrive. The power that candidates have today to find the best possible opportunity for them in their careers is unbelievable, and it's growing every day. Corporations, similarly, have more information about you, about us, than they've ever had before. You can serve up to me, these are my 3 references. Do you know who the first 3 people are that I'm going to call on your references? Not the people on that list. I know people that know you. And I know that you're probably serving up to me your reference list of your, guaranteed home runs, right? But I'm going to go look for people in places that cross paths with you because I can find out that information. I could go find out what's your social brand. What are you saying? How do you feel about certain things? And I can also see where you worked and when you worked there and what kinds of things were happening in that organization to get a sense of where you've thrived or where you've been challenged in your career. So when you think about these 2 elements that have armed both the candidate and the corporation, we should be heading towards a time where the market and the job satisfaction, if you will, is increasing, right? Because we're making much better decisions than we've ever made before. We've got so much more information to be able to find out what's the right culture for me? What's the right stage of growth of a corporation for me? Or if I'm a candidate, I can also think about what kind of leadership style do I want? I was at Stanford University around the corner from where I live in Menlo Park, California not long ago. And I had one of those moments where you sort of get jarred in your tracks by this new information hits you, as Ann was talking about. This woman said, my students today, they join a boss, not a company. Why? Because they can. What leaders are developing their talent more than other leaders? What leaders are taking care of their staff, growing them, giving them good learning opportunities? You can find that out now. And we're heading towards a place where all of us are going to have a responsibility to state our point of view about where we work, because other people need to benefit from that. So that's fascinating. This is, to me, all the disruption that's happening in the recruiting space is all goodness, and it's putting pressure in all the right places. Let me give you an example of something that is changing global economies. Okay? At LinkedIn, several years ago, we started working with the U.S. government to help deploy veterans that were leaving the armed services and going back into the workforce. And guess what the government said to us? They said, you know more about our veterans than we do, where they're going to work. And we started to take a look and see, helicopter mechanics, when they leave the armed forces, they tend to go to these companies in North Carolina. Maybe we can help the government understand where they're going there, and maybe there's some skills that the government can help prepare the officers for before they leave the Army. So now you've got this whole efficiency flow of training and development so that there's not people stuck without a job from the armed services. Think about countries like Spain, where I was a few months ago. Talk about a country that's struggling, 25% unemployment. 1 in 3 households, every single person who could work is out of a job. So you go there and you say, holy crap, if we have the chance to be able to define what skills we need, what jobs we have open, and we know where our talent is and where the skills reside, now we can help map where the opportunities are with where the skills are. This is a disruption that is going to dramatically, I think, improve economies around the world. Organizations are going to have a much clearer line of sight to where's my talent, where's my needs, and now I'm going to be able to better invest in where I need to start educating my workforce in my country to address the future needs of my organization. Super powerful. So those, I think, are the 2 most dramatic disruptions that are happening. Job satisfaction should increase, okay? Hopefully all the stuff that Adam talked about, all the internal churn in organizations, helps contribute, because people today can talk about what it's like working somewhere. Organizations can no longer hide. Do you know the single biggest question or challenge I got when I was visiting customers around the world for LinkedIn was the head of talent would say, Steve, no, we get the whole recruiting thing. My management's afraid of it. They're afraid of social networking. They're afraid if everyone has a LinkedIn profile, they're going to be poached by other companies. Can you help me educate them? So we've got an adoption challenge that we need to work through. But it's the organizations that figure out what the future is about. It's about brand and the opportunity of brand. So I'm going to come back to that. So lots of goodness happening. Job satisfaction should increase. You should be excited about the future for you and for your children. But even more so, I think one of the things that LinkedIn has done, and I can't sell because I don't work there anymore, Adam, so it's cool. I can talk about LinkedIn in good ways. One of the amazing things that LinkedIn has done is it has been able to bring in this concept of love. I love what I do. Did you see Adam earlier? You think he likes what he does? Yeah, it's coming out of his pores. He loves what he does. This is the thing that I think is really exciting about how LinkedIn is changing the landscape is not only are you able to find out more about where you could work, you're able to find out what you could do. Okay, let's go back to 1982. I'm sitting in the career office of Wesleyan University in Nowheresville, Connecticut. And I go talk to the career counselor and they hand me a 3-ring binder. Hey, Steve, you've got a history degree. Maybe you're interested in being a teacher. No, not interested in being a teacher. Maybe you're interested in being a historian. No, I was a history major. Those are the easiest classes to take. That's why I was a history major. But I don't want to do that. I want to make some money. They said, well, they kind of shrugged. Let's fast forward to today. I can go into the career counselor at Wesleyan University. I can be probably like I was back then, spending more time in the gym than the library. But hey, I'm a history major. What do I do? Oh, Steve, awesome, history major. Let me pull up everyone that ever graduated here that was a history major and show you what they did. Show you the segments that they took their career paths. Show you opportunities that you never knew before existed for you. I graduated, I didn't even know what human resources was. Never heard of it. My mom's like, get a job at McDonald's if you need to in the summers of college. I taught tennis, I was a construction worker. I didn't know anything about business. My dad's a minister, my mom ran a daycare center. I knew nothing about it. And I tripped up on it in my first job because I went to a place where they just moved people around a lot in San Francisco. I got lucky. You don't need to be lucky in the future. You don't need to be lucky today. You're going to be able to see, with my background and my experiences, I can see people have taken 500 different paths. And maybe I can find people that I know who've taken different paths and talk to them about those opportunities. That's all good. But it's not all good. There is some darkness. I got to scare you guys a little bit. Make sure you're still listening to me. So disruption in this space, in the world of recruiting, with all these new tools and new technologies that you have at your disposal, can be overwhelming. It can make you do what I did when I was at LinkedIn, realizing, okay, so I've got 400 and we need to go by 1,000. And Google's out hiring me like crazy, and Twitter and Facebook and Yammer and all these other people. What am I going to do? And so I'm like, well, let me see if I can find someone who's done this before. Nope, no one's ever done this before. Oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to face this? And I went fetal. I went sort of like, mommy, help me. Paralysis. I got all this stimuli, all this stuff's happening, got all this pressure. Get these people on board right now. I was getting kicked in the teeth by the leadership team. Hire better talent, hire it faster. Like, well, what tool should I use? These guys are using those tools and these guys are using these tools. That's, I think, the biggest fear when you're going through disruption like we are in recruiting right now, is there's so many like shining lights. Which object should I grab? Which is the right one? And what's really important, I think, in the space of recruiting is to remember one thing. Recruiting is about relationships. So when you're all freaking out about all the change that's going on and all the challenges that you're dealing with, grasp onto something that is a true north, and that is recruiting is about building a relationship. Use those tools not to be the fancy cool guy who's like got all kinds of cool things going on. One of the things we did at LinkedIn that was really simple, candidates loved it. If you're driving to us for an interview, we'd shoot you a traffic report just to help you, just to know that we're thinking about the struggle that you've got to come here. We made it personal. And this is the thing where I think a lot of people in recruiting fail to understand. If recruiting is about relationships, all these tools and resources, especially social networks, give me more information to get to know you better and engage with you better. Not to shoot you an email and to hide behind all this technical stuff. It's to send you something that's personalized to you, that's going to connect you to me. I got 3 phone calls from recruiters last week, and they started pitching me jobs before they even asked me, Steve, are you interested in working somewhere new? There's so much information about me out there. There's videos about me. There's my LinkedIn profile. There's the silly, goofy stuff I post. You could find out so much. Why are you doing that? Why are you wasting my time? Why are you wasting your time? Okay? So at the end of the day, I think you take all this systems, all these new tools out there, all this disruption happening, what it's doing is creating a new transparent reality. right? And if people know more about you as a company, you better darn well be sure that you're building a good brand that's going to bring people in. One of the most successful organizations recruiting talent in the Valley is Google. Why? Because they got the smartest recruiters and the coolest tools? No. Because they've made themselves a place people want to be. And that's, I think, the challenge right now, is we've got all this stuff happening out there and people are struggling like, how do I deal with brand and identification in a universe with lots of other chances for people to be distracted? How do I distinguish myself in that space? And so that's the challenge, I think, for all of us as we think about how we want to make a difference. And for candidates, too. I think two big things are going to happen in recruiting in the next few years. It's already happening. In fact, I saw a tweet this morning. I'm like, oh, crap, this guy's stealing my material, and I haven't even delivered it yet. Resumes, CVs, LinkedIn profiles, bye-bye, they're going. You know what you're going to see? Your personal documentary about you. So what you're going to have? You're going to video testimonial. Organizations, are they going to post jobs anymore? Why would you post a job? We're looking for 6 years of experience and prior public company, IP, taking a company public, advanced degrees, and who's interested in that? What companies are going to realize, if you believe it's all about brand, if you believe people want an adventure today, not a job, because they can find adventure, what your job posting should be is a movie trailer. That's what it should be. Slap on a bunch of GoPros on your employees for a couple of weeks and throw together a movie trailer. Make it awesome. Life's too short. Back to the comment I made about love. Why don't we try harder to find places where we can love what we do? You might say, I love my job. If I asked your spouse, would they say that's what their feeling is about you and your job? Okay? So, great. If you're there, stay there, right? So I guess my final thoughts on this are, the future is super bright. Don't get too confused by the glitter of all this disruption. Grasp on the fact it's about relationships and leveraging those tools and technologies for you to have real, rich connections with people. We want that. I live in Silicon Valley. I don't know my neighbors. I get my community feeling where I work and the people I spend time with. There's such a huge opportunity here. And guess what? You don't have to be the smartest guy. You don't have to be the smartest person to figure this out. You just got to be better than your competitors. Right? Thank you very much.